Hello and welcome to the WOW, Connecting and Empowering Women Through Sports, brought to you by our partners, Fresh Fine Wine. I'm Jade Kay, and joining me, as always, are my lovely co-hosts, Stephanie Jokian and Janine Samuels. Hello, ladies.
Hey there.
Hey.
Coming up in segment 2, we chat with Courtney Rivera for our WOW Home Field segment. Courtney is a producer for social media in the Washington football team's digital department. She's a graduate of UCLA, where she majored in psychology, and she also was a pitcher on their softball team. She previously was a social media assistant at the Carolina Panthers before joining us here in Washington. Her name may ring a bell because she is the daughter of a former guest here on the WOW, Courtney Rivera, and Washington football's head coach, Ron Rivera. We're going to have a lot of fun with her. We're going to try and get some insight on what it was like growing up with Riverboat Ron as your father. So make sure you stick around for that. I feel like we repeat ourselves every week, so let's quickly get the bad news out of the way. Washington dropped its second straight game, 30-27, to the Detroit Lions. I have many feelings, but I'm surprisingly optimistic. I feel good. I don't know if I'm okay, but I think we have a little bit to talk about before we talk about the Bengals. Let's just get the bad out of the way. I think we can all agree the biggest woe was that start, that momentum, the fire was just not there. I think they were still on the bus. They were two totally different teams.
Yeah. That slow start. And again, whatever gets said at halftime by Coach Rivera, I need to be a fly on that wall because they come out and it's a totally different team. So we need to have that same butt kicking at the beginning, that same angry Rivera that Courtney talks about.
Yeah, and just overall take better advantage of when we're in the red zone. We literally left 9 points on the field. We didn't capitalize on key opportunities to get points on the board, and that hurt us. So yeah, we just have to start off a lot stronger.
Yes.
And I think the wow that we can all get behind and something that's going to help us as we prepare for our next game and as we look at the rest of the season is having Alex Smith. I mean, that was his first game as a starter since 2018. He came out with 390 yards. That's 2 consecutive games for passing over 300 yards. I mean, that's incredible. His story alone is incredible, but just him on the field and his production and what he was doing. Say what you want, but he is a facilitator. He's a distributor. We have a young offense, and having a guy like Alex Smith, the ability to get the ball, to place the ball to these young guys. I mean, it was incredible to see him out there, and I think it's really going to help us this season.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. And it was exciting, obviously, the second half of the game. Obviously, he is a leader out there. And if he continues to play at this high level consistently, then you never know. Like, he could end up being our franchise quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the upcoming games.
Yeah. And as we set up for this game this weekend against the Bengals, I think we can all agree. We've said the same thing all year. You've got to start strong. And you can't have penalties. You can't have interceptions. You can't have mistakes that the other team can capitalize on. I think we're like a broken record repeating what we need to do to get this win. I think the positive going into this game is they're a very, very similar team. Our records are almost identical. They have a new quarterback. We have a new offense, a new coaching staff. We have a lot of young players. So we have a very similar situation. We're both in rebuild years. We're both trying to see what we got. We're trying to evaluate on that field. So we have an opportunity here. If we can have that fast start.
We need to keep pressure. We need to make that young quarterback, Joe Burrow, make mistakes. He's young. He's that first round draft pick. He can make mistakes. So let's put that pressure on him, create those mistakes, get turnovers. And we've got our second round pick going against our first round pick. So let's see who comes out on top there.
There you go.
Yep. Most definitely. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, Joe Burrow is the star of that game. So to Stephanie's point, if we can put the pressure on him and kind of shut him down, then I think that we can grab that W.
Yeah. It'll be a fun one to watch for sure. As we've mentioned here on the WOW, we like to give you access to the Washington football team. So if you have a question for a Washington football player, make sure you're following @WOW Washington on social to find out how you can ask a player a question and have it answered right here on the WOW. Check out what WOW member Tila asked Khalik Hudson.
Hi, Khalik Hudson. My name is Tila Jones. I'm a WOW member and have been for 10 years. I have a quick question for you. What would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self that just keep your head down and keep working. Control what you can control, and just work your tail off every day. In school, football, and life, take care of your family, and, everything's going to fall in place as long as you keep working hard and doing the right things.
Has your business been affected by COVID-19? Have you considered reducing or moving your office space? Then it's time to call Victory Van. We provide the best service and price with flexible options for your company's moving and storage needs. Visit victoryvan.com to get your free moving and storage quote today. For corporate storage and moving, it's always the right move to choose Victory Van. That's victoryvan.com, Victory Van Corporation, delivering excellence for 75 years and proud partner of the Washington football team.
Finch Services Incorporated, recognized in its industry as a world-class organization, is the exclusive supplier of John Deere golf and sports turf maintenance equipment for the Mid-Atlantic region. In business since 1945, Finch helps golf course and sports turf managers maintain some of the most exclusive playing surfaces in the region. Experience the Finch advantage for yourself. Contact one of our golf and sports turf sales specialists to see how we can help you maintain your field of dreams. Go to finchturf.com for more information.
At RTS, game day strategy doesn't stop when the whistle blows. RTS delivers smarter, more responsible waste and recycling services. As an official partner of the Washington football team, RTS is connecting the team and FedEx Field with sustainable solutions to care for the community and the environment. RTS, a better waste company. Find out more at rts.com.
Welcome to Wild Home Field featuring Courtney Rivera. Courtney is a producer for social media in the Washington football team's digital department. She's a graduate from UCLA, majoring in psychology. And as I mentioned earlier, she was a pitcher for UCLA's softball team. After graduating, Courtney was an assistant softball coach at Providence Day School for 3 years and then switched her career into the digital world as a social media assistant for the Carolina Panthers. She also happens to be the daughter of head coach Ron Rivera. Courtney, welcome to the WOW.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We are going to stretch it out. We're going to warm up. We're all athletes here. We're going to do a quick this or that round. You down?
All right.
We're going to start off and we're going to keep it fun. As we've said earlier, we had Stephanie Rivera, your mom, on the show a couple months ago. And so we want to play a quick game of mom or dad. So this or that, but answer mom or dad. All right.
Okay.
First question. Who cooks more?
Mom.
All right, she didn't even have to think about that.
No, that was quick.
I love my dad, but when we say dad's cooking, it is usually when he's the one grabbing takeout.
Love that. That's me.
Dad will try. Dad has tried. He can cook some things, but there was one incident, and mom was like, after that, never again.
All right, yeah, well, we learned from our mistakes, I guess. So here's the next one. Who taught you how to play softball?
Mom.
All right.
Mom used to play, but dad was always my catcher. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so it was a team effort there.
Yeah. So mom's the one that's got me started, and then dad, because he played baseball, he was the one that kept me going on it. So.
Cool. Okay, so who gave you more hugs after games?
I'd say dad.
Yay.
Dad, yeah, definitely dad.
Are you a mama or daddy's girl?
Ooh, I gotta go daddy's girl.
Me too.
And then, I'm a daddy's girl too. No shade to the moms. It just happens that way.
Yeah,
It just
I'm
comes
like, come on,
siblings.
guys.
I'm my best friend, but yeah, I have a soft spot for dad.
All right, and then where you are now in your career, who gives you more career advice?
That's a tough one. I mean, I would go more of my mom is more like the logical, like when it comes to giving advice. Dad's more like I love dad. He's always like, just whatever your heart, like, I'm like, okay, but that's not helpful. Dad, like, I get it. He's like, follow your passion, do whatever you want. I'm like, okay, that's helpful, but like, I need like a little bit more help here, Dad. So mom,
he's like the teddy bear, huh?
Mom's the more like critical thinking kind of advice. Dad's like always like go with your gut, go with your heart kind of advice. So I would say mom is usually a little bit more helpful though.
Okay. All right, we're gonna throw you off here. You can't answer mom or dad here. Who got yelled at more, you or your brother?
I'm gonna go my brother. I've always said I am the favorite child. So yeah.
Now, would your brother agree with that? Would your brother agree that you're the favorite child, or does he think he's the favorite?
Oh no, it's an on-running joke that I'm the favorite. I'm my favorite. Mom, she might lean towards my brother a little bit more, but like I've already claimed my dad. I'm his favorite, so.
Love it.
All right, you made it through. You passed with flying colors of this or that. We are all warmed up. So as I mentioned earlier, we were fortunate enough to have your mother, Stephanie, on the WOW earlier this season. She's a former WNBA coach. What was it like growing up in a pro sports family?
I mean, it was pretty interesting for me because like I never really like when mom was coaching in the WNBA, I was still really young. I was only in elementary school. So when she coached down here for the Mystics, it was just she was pretty much gone for the summer. And it was just like funny because it was just dad and me and my brother. So it was like the first time it was really like dad taking care of me and him. So it was like, oh, okay, like this is what having dad is home around all the time versus having mom home all the time. But I mean, it was fun because I would constantly go to mom's practices when she wasn't coaching the WNBA. She did do like private lessons. So I was like her little assistant, like carrying the basketballs around and helping her out with stuff. And, you know, I was one of the kids that was always at the football field when I went to go visit dad at practices and was just like, oh, so I was just a kid. So it was just like, oh, I get to play basketball. I get to run around with a football. So for like the longest time, it was just like, oh, I just get to do sports more often. So it was like, okay.
Yeah.
Never
just
really
normal,
like,
right?
yeah, it was just normal. I never really like noticed it was like a big deal until like later on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And do you think because of that, because you were around sports your entire life, do you think that that's why you gravitated yourself into playing sports and having a passion for sports and now working in a sports industry?
Yeah. So when we were growing up, my parents told me and my brother to try everything. So like I've done golf, I did tennis, I've done like we did the martial arts thing, and like it was just like, hey, try everything, try sports, try like I helped out after my brother started getting into like computers and like musical theater and like doing all that stuff. We literally just tried everything. So like when I found like what I really loved, I just kind of was like, yeah, I want to stay in this as long as I can. And for me, it was also just like the amount of friends I've made through sports. It was like, oh, like I can be playing sports with my best friends and just like doing all this stuff. Yeah, why wouldn't I do this?
Right. So when you say playing sports with your best friends, right, that's the community, your friends. So what life lessons has sports taught you?
I mean, there's so much you can learn from sports. For me, a lot of it was how to be a good teammate and how to be like unselfish, because like I played softball, and for me, like to realize, hey, you're on a team with there's 9 of us on the field at a time. Like it's not just on you. Like you got to be able to trust people. You got to be able to do your job and then trust other people to do their job. And you know, when you're not doing well, like don't snap at people. Like you have people who are going to lift you up, who are going to like support you, and just like again being able to be someone to help lift someone else up and be willing to be like, hey, I made a mistake, you guys help me out, and be willing to be like, hey, I can't do this all on my own, I need my teammates with me. So that was one of the things I feel like I learned really was be a good teammate to others, and others are going to like support you too. Like if you're that person that like no one wants to be around, then no one's going to want you on their team.
Yeah. I'm going to play this back for my sons and just.
Well, no, and that was one of the biggest things too for me was in a sport where we like fail all the time. Like you got to like see things in the positive, and like if you're not playing, like okay, then be positive for your teammate. And like it was the biggest thing was it's not about you, it's about the team. So like you're not going to win the team every single game just by yourself. You need all those other people that are on the bench, on the field with you. So
right. And that mindset and that philosophy also holds true in the work environment, right? Mm-hmm. So it really is a team effort. I mean, with just about every organization, it's an organization, but then it's a team of teams. And so if you're not, able to operate together and help each other succeed together, then your team won't be successful, and then the organization itself won't be successful as well. So definitely plays into, once you grow up outside of sports as well.
Oh yeah. It was the biggest thing for me to understand, like, hey, you have your job, do your job, and everyone else around you have to trust to do theirs. You can't be trying to push someone over to do their job as well, because then everything's just going to fail if you're trying to do someone else's job when you have your own that you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask, when in your life, or what was that moment, did you realize my dad is Coach Ron Rivera? My dad is Riverboat Ron. Was there a moment that hit you?
I'm gonna say it was around like when I was in middle school, because like when I was in elementary school, I had no idea. Like my dad just happened to like coach and like football players, and yes, this was when we were with the Eagles, but when we were there, you know, like I didn't know anything, and it was just like, oh yeah, we get to go to football games, I get to cheer, and dad's doing all this. But I would say middle school, because that was when dad became a defensive coordinator. And so when you're in like those positions, coordinators and the head coach, those are like the three coaches that people really, well, 4 if you count the special teams. For some teams actually count them, but like you actually see their name in the paper, or you actually like they actually talk about them, or those are the coaches that start getting talked about as potentially becoming head coaches. And it was like at that point that people actually started recognizing my dad. So like that was when I think it really started to click, when we were like, we'd be talking about games, and then all of a sudden someone's like talking, oh yeah, like your dad. And I was like, wait, what do you mean about my dad? And they're like, oh yeah, your dad coached a great game. And I'm like, okay, cool. So it was definitely middle school, because that was when people started recognizing him more as coach. But yeah, that's when it started to really click, like, oh, my dad's kind of like important. Like people actually know who he is.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So that would be when it would kind of like clicked in that, okay, this is actually kind of a big deal, that what dad does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even, in light of that, you still, everything was normal. It wasn't like, oh, I have a celebrity dad, whereas we might look at it that way. So I'm assuming you all still did normal family stuff. So being that the holidays are coming up, what are some family traditions? What are some things that you all do year after year for the holidays?
Well, it's funny, because with growing up with the holidays, like we had a lot of traditions that were kind of like not really traditions, in the fact that like we had Christmas was like all month, because it depended on the football schedule, because we've had games with dad, they were playing on Christmas, or like he wouldn't be back, like they had to leave on Christmas Day for games. So my mom and dad kind of just told us like, hey, we're like, Christmas is going to be a little early, we're just going to celebrate all together. So it was like we've had a month where it was like we had 5 different Christmases, because we also had different family members who were coming to visit. So it was like, okay, so we're celebrating on this day, this day, this day, and then on actual Christmas. But
that's awesome.
So,
Wow.
well, it was always like, okay, so you can open these presents then, and then we gotta wait, and then you'll get Santa's presents on actual Christmas. So the holidays have always just rotated around whatever the schedule was. So like, okay, what the actual date is, but we kind of twisted around a little bit to make it all work, so we were all together and could celebrate, because like that was one of the things mom wanted to make sure was like dad was there to see us open presents and be a part of it, because that was the hard part of when it was an away game and dad couldn't be there on Christmas Day. Mom's like, okay, we got to make sure we can get some of the family Christmas photos of you guys opening presents. And one of mom's traditions that she's kept is we always open one present before Christmas, and it was our Christmas PJs.
Yes,
So okay,
I love that.
so that's like Christmas Eve, we would open up the Christmas PJs that you got to wear, and that's what we'd be wearing the next day. So we've done like Christmas onesies, like it was totally like a gigantic onesie theme.
That's the picture we need to send. We need to see Riverboat Ron in the onesie. That's what we need.
I'm pretty sure it was like a Santa one that mom got him. We had a year where it was all like ugly Christmas sweaters. So like I had like Grumpy Cat. I had a Grumpy Cat sweater, and like my brother had like unicorns and on his, and that was one of my favorite ones, because it was just the most random things I'd ever seen, and mom had never done it before, and it was all of a sudden I was like, wait, what is this? So I think that's my favorite one that mom's kept up all these years, is like it was always Christmas PJs, and you never knew what was going to be, because some years she went overboard with it, some years it was like just simple matching ones. And some years I was like, wait, what?
I love that idea. So I wanted to ask you, the new edgy tone of our Washington football team social media, it has been amazing. Now that you've come here and you're helping us with that, how involved are you in that planning with the new team voice and the day-to-day posts?
I can't take too much credit for that. Like, it's funny because one of our newer employees that came on like a few weeks before me, Astasia, is actually, well, we worked together at Panthers, and she had left before I did, and she was actually working at DC United for a little bit, and then she ended up coming to Washington football team, and she's like, okay, now you need to come here. She's like, come on, we're bringing the band back together. We're gonna do this, and so. But I mean, I'm a good part of it. Like, we have people who, Megan as well, who was here before me and Astasia got here. Like, they're the tag team duo who's been doing a lot of day-to-day stuff, and now we have a lot of new people. We have Ryan, who is one of our newest members on the team, and they handle a lot of it. Stuff like they do a lot of day-to-day. I help with like pre-planning, like posts that we're gonna do, like, you know, if we're gonna have like a little like fun kind of trash talking another team, that's a group like collab going on. Sometimes, you know, when someone makes a comment, sometimes we got a little group text going on. I was like, hey, so how do we want to respond to this? But
yeah, we had Astasia come in to talk to NFL cheer director. She hadn't even started her job yet, and we're like, you look awesome from what we've been seeing, so you need to come talk to all the NFL cheer directors about what social media should be like.
Yeah, Astasia knows how to run things, so it's great. That I was very happy when I found out that she was coming here, and me and her were going to be able to team up again, because we had a few good years at Panthers, and then she wanted to expand herself and try and move up a little bit. So when she left, I was like, oh, man. And I laughed because she was trying to convince me to go to DC United, and then the jobs opened up over here. She's like, no, we're staying with football. We're going back. So the minute that happened, I'm like, all right, down, we're going. We're joining forces again.
Yeah.
You made the right choice. I think I told you before we started recording, my favorite part of the social media game right now is the comments to fans. Like, they'll post something ridiculous, like, why did we blow it? And it's just like the emojis coming from the voice of the football team. It's great. I love that interaction and that engagement and that unfilteredness that we're trying to do here.
It's also just funny to me because it's like, we got to remind people, I'm like, we're the social team. We don't have control over some of these things. We're trying to make fun things. Like, I just laugh at some of the comments because we get things that I'm like, you do know we have no control over this. Like, and we get comments about like, guys, just let me make something cool. I'm trying to make a cool video. Can I just post a cool video? Like, we can do fun things sometimes too, please.
We can.
So.
Hey.
Well, I love it. I love everything that you guys are doing. We're running out of time, unfortunately. Before we let you go, we have 2 questions that we like to ask every guest. So I'm going to kick off the first one. What would you tell your younger self if you had the chance?
I would tell myself to not be afraid to take chances on things, because there was definitely a lot of things like I would always be hesitant about, or, you know, there were moments where I was like, should I do it? And there were moments where I was like, okay, I feel like I missed out on some things. And, you know, it's hard once I realized who my dad is, there's kind of like moments where I was like, oh, am I going to get in trouble for doing this? Like, but there's a lot of things that I would told myself, like, hey, don't be afraid to like do things, and don't be afraid to fail. Cause that was the other thing for me, was there were some things I was like too like nervous about, or like it got into my head, like, you're going to fail and it's going to be horrible. And I'm like, no, that's a part of life. You're going to learn from it. So just like not being afraid to take the chances, and like not be afraid if you fail, but like you have people around who are going to pick you up, because I have failed and I have struggled, and like that moment when you realize like, oh, I'm not alone in this, like I'm like, why didn't I take that chance earlier? Why didn't I do that earlier? And just remind myself, there's a lot more things that you could be doing and not stressing about.
Yeah, and kind of following up on that, like the other question that we normally ask is just, how do you kind of push through the fear, the unknown, the doubt, and just stay motivated every day to do the things that you know that you should be doing? Do you have a mantra or a motto that you live by? Is there a certain routine that you use every single day to kind of keep you pumped and keep you moving forward?
One of the things I always kind of try and remind myself is something that my parents actually would tell me when it came like me when I was an athlete and played softball still. My mom was always the one that kind of would tell, like push, like keep going forward, keep going forward. And my dad was always the one that would tell me like, hey, take a second, just breathe, because I would get nervous and way too much in my head and just overthink things. So I always kind of just remind myself like, hey, just take a breath. You're good. Keep moving forward, because there's nothing I can do about the past. I just got to keep moving forward. Take a second, look around, you know where you're at, and keep moving forward.
Love that. Take a deep breath and keep moving forward. Love it. I'm going to write that down. That's a writer downer, people.
I'm ready right after this ends to write down everything you've said. Well, Courtney, it has been so great to have you on the Wow and to actually, get a chance to meet you digitally, but face to face. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us here. Before we let you go, can you tell our listeners where they can follow you, any place or any account you want to plug?
I mean, just follow Washington football team on,
Yeah.
I mean, the only account like I really have public is my Twitter account, which is NFL to UCLA. But pretty much all my other stuff, I'm like, I'm good. You guys don't need to follow all of my socials, but yeah, just follow us on Washington football and follow me on Twitter. And well, hopefully we can get some more good posts out for fans to enjoy.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, Courtney.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
A new decade demands a new kind of wine. As consumers continue to embrace healthier lifestyles with beverages that taste great and keep in line with their dietary preferences, and wine is no exception. Fresh Vine Wine thoughtfully crafts great tasting premium wines that are low calorie, low carb, low sugar, keto, vegan friendly, and gluten free. Fresh Vine Wines pairs perfectly with your active lifestyle without sacrificing on taste. Available in select stores in DC and Maryland.
Wondering what's next on the Washington football team brand journey? Find out with our new timeline feature at washingtonjourney.com/timeline.
It's all-wheel drive season, and your local Honda dealers are bringing the best deals of the year. It's clearance pricing during the Happy Honda Days sales event. Dash through the snow in a rugged and adventurous Honda. Check out the entire all-wheel drive truck and SUV lineup. CRV, HRV, Ridgeline, Pilot, and Passport, with features like Honda Sensing, magic folding seats, and 3 different driving modes. Clearance pricing is here, but it won't last long. Don't miss clearance pricing at the Happy Honda Days sales event, now at your local Honda dealer.
Couchgating is the new tailgating presented by DC Lottery. Enter to win a chance at a Washington football team DC Lottery fan pack. Celebrate your couchgating by sharing a photo using the hashtag CouchgatingDCL. To have your couchgating photo featured on the Couchgating Wall of Fame, please post your photos on social media using the tags Washington NFL, DC Lottery, and the hashtag CouchgatingDCL for consideration. Please note that not all photos will be accommodated on the Couchgating Wall of Fame, and all Couchgating photos are posted at the sole discretion of the Washington football team.
We are heading into Wow Overtime. It was so fun to have Courtney Rivera and to get a little bit of insight into the dynamic growing up with Coach Ron Rivera and her another coach, her mom, Stephanie Rivera. Something that I just want to dive right on into that I love what she said is not being afraid to fail. That's the advice she would have told her younger self, that she would have taken more chances. She would have dabbled with things that she normally wouldn't, because it is okay to make those mistakes. And I think it's something that I love saying you need to fail. You gotta feel it. You gotta learn from it. You gotta know rejection in order to grow and to pick up those pieces. But I also love that in comparison to the season we have right now, the Washington football team. We always say it's a reevaluation. It's evaluation year. It's a year to figure out what we have in order to move and to build that era and to build the team for the future. And I think that advice helps us so much. That's why I'm so positive about the game last week against the Lions is there was so much good there, and it's okay to fail because you're learning from it in order to move forward. So I think that was a really cool thing that she said.
Yeah, I agree. And I could, definitely, I feel she learned that from her parents, right? I had the opportunity to interview Coach Rivera for a salute event. And we were talking about our fan base and how dedicated it is. And, I said, win, lose, or draw, our fans are going to be there in the stands, rooting on the burgundy and gold. And Coach Rivera corrected me and said, win, learn, or draw. And so it's this whole idea of a failure is not a failure if you learn from it and if you grow from it and you keep moving forward. And when I asked her, okay, well, how do you do that? She basically said, hey, I just take a deep breath and I keep moving forward. So anytime in life, when you hit a roadblock, when you hit a struggle, when you don't get the answer that you want, when something doesn't work out exactly how you hoped it would, just take a step back, give yourself some grace, take a deep breath, learn from the experience and keep moving forward. And I absolutely love that because you can use that in literally every single area of your life.
Yeah, I think that's great. And how she talked about her father says, trust your gut, go with your heart. That's what he's doing with this team. We may not like some of the decisions, but he's going with his gut. And his gut right now is I'm giving Alex Smith the ball. And, we're all learning from it. Win, learn, or draw I love that. Thank you for sharing.
I know. And I've been sharing it with everybody ever since he said it to me, because I'm like, that is golden. And that's one thing I love about, us being able to interview people is that we're able to pull these little nuggets and really utilize them in our lives. But that's the key, right? For everyone. Like they always say, knowledge is power, but it's actually applied knowledge is power. So when you learn things, when you hear things, write them down, but then apply them in your life on a day-to-day basis. And you're going to see yourself improving and being just 1% better than you were the day before. And that's what's most important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's so cool about football is that it's not just the X's and O's, you're really taking those life lessons or those lessons and putting them into your life. And so I'm a huge fan of Coach Ron Rivera because of his philosophy, but also just who he is and the grit and tenacity. And you can tell that he's implemented that in Courtney. So that was great to have her on the show. And we joked, we're definitely going to have her back and get some more, not dirt, but some more insight from the Rivera household and just get to know her more as a person. Stephanie, before we wrap up, can you let us know if there's any WOW events that we should be aware of?
Sure. So December 3rd, we are going to be having a Health for the Holidays panel for Women of Washington. So it's 5:30 to 7:15. We're going to have Dr. Suzanne Nixon, Dr. Jermaine Williams, lots of advice on how to stay healthy and hopeful and rested and all of the above that we need for the holidays. So looking forward to that. You guys will be a part of it. And then I do want to stress that we have a brand journey that if people haven't gone to our WashingtonJourney.com site yet, you can share how you're feeling about, what you think the name should be coming up and awesome experiences that you've had, but we need to hear from you guys. So I think that we should be talking about that soon on our next podcast or show about our journey as Washington. So putting that in there.
Good plug.
Yeah, comment below too if you have any ideas on people that you want us to talk to, things that you want us to cover, ideas that you have for the Washington football team. But yes, definitely go to WashingtonJourney.com and put your ideas there too.
That'll do it for us. Make sure you check out WOW Washington on all of our social media channels. Stay up to date with what we have going on, as well as those events. And like Janine said, please shoot us a DM, comment below. Let us know who you want on the show, what you want to talk about. We are all ears. Thank you to our partner, Fresh Fine Wine. Till next time. Bye.
For more than 100 years, Chesapeake Employers Insurance has been helping Maryland businesses keep their workers safe. With competitive pricing and an AM Best A- financial strength rating, it's no surprise that Chesapeake Employers is Maryland's largest writer of workers' comp insurance.
At the end of every workday, someone's waiting for your safe return.
Connect with your agent or visit CEIWC.com.
Locally owned Novec is energizing the community in powerful ways. From sponsoring meals for first responders and medical professionals to donating generously to area food banks, Novec knows we're in this together. Novec and customers are funding crisis energy assistance by having their bills rounded up each month. Novec and employees are supporting local charities through Novec Helps. That's the power of working together. That's Novec.
And now, Time for a Happy Honda Days clearance highlight. The season had grown cold, and the roads were covered in ice. Looking to capitalize on clearance pricing, Amy went down to her local Honda dealer and test drove the entire all-wheel drive SUV lineup. CRV, HRV, Passport, and more. In the end, Amy got a clearance deal on a new Pilot equipped with 3 different driving modes. Boom, baby, boom.
Don't miss clearance pricing at the Happy Honda Days sales event, now at your local Honda dealer.
Want to have some extreme fun? Sure. How about wingsuit flying? Ah! You wear a flying suit, jump off a cliff, and dive bomb like a crazed falcon. Ah! Too extreme?
Make it stop! Thank you.
Try this instead. Play new Extreme Scratch-Offs from the Maryland Lottery. There's over $100 million in instant cash and tons of $100,000 top prizes. So, wingsuit?
No!
Or Maryland Lottery Extreme Scratch-Offs.
Yes!
Please play safely.